good, y'all? It's the Demouchets React, and we're back with another video. What we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. So excited about this video. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
Maybe you've never thought of it this way, but colonial Americans spoke and behaved far closer to British than to American. Many early Americans still considered themselves British in the colonial days, hence patriots versus loyalists. But when did the American brand actually start? When did we stop bowing, start shaking hands, and stop speaking British? Let's address a myth first. The American accent isn't some sort of new invention. It's actually an old one. In the 1700s, British English was not the Queen's English that we think of now. The British sounds, right? I'm sorry. Instead, British English was rhotic, meaning they pronounced the R in words like hard, bar, and car. At the back end of the American Revolution, around the mid to late 1700s, the London elites began practicing non-rhoticity to sound more sophisticated and avoid association with the ungrateful younger brothers overseas, yes, but mostly to distance themselves from the poor, low-born people around them. And this is really neat. The Americans were new and demanding independence, so you'd think they would be the ones to quickly change the way they speak, but that's just not the case. Americans didn't develop a new accent. We just kept the one we had and gradually changed it, while England moved on considerably sooner and far more intentionally. Put another way, before and during the Revolution, the average redcoat and the average patriot were speaking with similar accents. So, in practice, the American accent kind of froze many of the English sounds of the 1700s.
Which makes me think about the time when we was listening to some like old accents that, you know, they had back in, I guess you could say like the Renaissance days and all that. Mm-hmm. They had like this jazz kind of tempo with their tone, and it sounded mad cool, like it just sounded cool.
That did.
But that changed over time. It's like it just kind of washed away. What do you think? I want to ask you this. What do you think happens to the accent? Like, how do you think it kind of mysteriously changes over time and flows with the times?
Honestly, I don't know.
I think I got it.
Because in school, I studied like the history of the different accents, but never like why it changed. I don't know. Let's see what we have to say.
George III of back then probably sounded a lot more American than King Charles. Somebody please give me a good explanation as to why this portrait looks the way it does. We stayed Elizabethan and they went posh. And this is really important as far as class and national themes. In the US, liberty and equality were massive virtues and still are now. And not to say that those virtues are not present in the UK today, but there's a clear discrepancy in that birthright hierarchy still stands as a major recognized institution. And we can't skip over the demographic changes here either, as the early American West, for example, was a melting pot of German, Irish, and Scandinavian influences, while Great Britain just remained far more homogenous for much longer. But there's more here. With speech changes comes reading and writing changes. Have you ever wondered why Americans and Brits, Americans and Brits, there we go, have different spellings for words like color? No, of course you have. Look, I'm in your brain already, which I'm sure is massive and juicy. Lots of wrinkles, yeah. For this spelling thing, we can thank Noah Webster. Yes, that Webster. He thought that as long as Americans used British spelling, they were still mentally enslaved to the crown. He wanted an American language that was as lean and efficient as the people. And many of his suggestions gained massive traction in the late 18th century and stuck around till today. He chopped the U out of honor. He flipped the R-E in theater to theater. There were more rejected changes than accepted ones. I'll show you a few, and I think you'll really like this. He wanted to change tongue to tongue, believe to believe, machine to machine, soup to soup, daughter to daughter, head to head, and my personal favorite, women to women. And I really like this one, but because first is just funny. And secondly, it cleans up that weird pronunciation dilemma we have with the singular and plural sounding nearly identical when read literally, which was a problem even back then. Webster's solution was practical, and guess what? Most Americans still vocalize women just as Webster had it spelled. But his superior spelling was ultimately rejected because people found the spelling to be, You're too ugly. Let me know in the comments, which alternative Webster spelling should we reintroduce today? And tell me how we should fix this women problem. Oh man, that's...
Okay. If we would have went that way, it would have been easier for a lot of, children to know how to spell, because how he was wanting to spell it, it's how we speak.
Exactly. Which is low key the conversations that we have today anyway. Like, we sound like how we sound.
Yeah, and I mean, we wanted to, be this country and do our own thing.
That's what I was finna say next. It sounded like he just wanted that separation. And I think by changing the words up, it just kind of gave us a little more accent to our own way of sounding.
Right.
Like, he really wanted to disassociate himself.
Right, and when you think about it, when we're talking to our international audience and we're talking about English, they say American English, or, I forgot the correct name for it, but a different English. Whichever country, like the UK, England, England.
Yeah.
That's their language, but American English.
Yeah. So wait, I'm gonna say that question for later.
Sounds bad, but you know what I mean. The point here is that the speech changing along with the spelling was an attempt at a psychological breakaway from the British, and it worked. Sooner or later, Webster was able to rewire the American brain to see Britishness as an extra, unnecessary piece of baggage. By 1790, acting British was socially dangerous. If you carried yourself like a duke, people assumed you wanted the redcoats back. They thought you were, a bit posh, perhaps bougie. Being practical, common, maybe even a bit plain was valuable both for the theme of equality as well as distance from Brittany. I just made that common noun up, but funny how you know exactly what I mean. Take a handshake, for example. In London, a bow was a physical map of who was above whom. But in Philadelphia, the handshake became the law of the land. It was a radical, metaphorical middle finger to the class system. Look a man in the eye and grip his hand. A display that we overlook now, but directly respects the language from the Declaration against Great Britain, that all men are created equal. Benjamin Franklin was really good at this. He would show up to important events dressed humbly, even showing up to the French court in a raccoon hat and plain brown suit. Everyone else was in powdered wigs and silk stockings, even the men. It seemed unserious, but this representation of the American public as simple, somewhat rugged, was effective in securing French alliance against the British. I have a whole video on why Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president and really was just a goofy guy, if you're interested. Now, you'd think this trend from Franklin of being distinctly rustic and specifically anti-posh to contrast against the British would have translated to other founding fathers and early presidents. But it just didn't happen, not for a while. In fact, for the first 40 years, U.S. presidents were still Virginia gentlemen, if you will. They spoke with a refined, rhythmic cadence. Then came 1828, and this absolute menace of a man became the 7th president, Andrew Jackson. He ran on and embraced the persona of the regular man and woman, and while he wasn't the most morally upstanding figure, to say the least, he was dedicated to the average person. He may have been the only true common man president that the U.S. has ever had. Let me know if you agree with that statement. I mean, just think, when's the last time we had a regular guy be president?
I hit 17 straight three-pointers.
Probably for the better, right? Anyway. Jackson's inauguration was closer to a riot than a ceremony like we're used to now. No, really, it was an actual riot. Thousands of common people flooded the White House. They tracked mud on the expensive rugs, they broke fine china, and they forced the president to escape through a side door while the staff lured the mob outside with tubs of spiked punch. And now we close our eyes and visualize what that may have looked like. Look, guys, leave the president alone. Look, there's...
Damn, y'all was just gangster back then, dog. It's like any little thing tipped y'all off. Y'all was in that head first.
Tell the people that they can't have their liquor tax free.
Playing no games. Okay, the head game over there was crazy. Y'all obviously was thinking about it differently to just run up with whoever the president is and handle business.
Now, I do want to say one thing that he mentioned about the handshake. I do think that we still value the handshake today. Okay. Especially like when, our president go and visit with another president of another country or a prime minister. They're always focusing on the handshake, and especially the president that we have today, they're always tuning in on if he won that handshake battle and all of that. So I do think that that is something that we still value today in the United States, especially, just an average person, us, when we go greet people,
right,
we shaking hands. So
see, now even taking a step further, like we low key even bow whenever we shake an elder hand.
Who bowing, babe?
Listen, check it out. When you go and shake an elder hand, we all do like this little small head nudge where we be like, it's like a little, it's like a bow. It's like we don't realize we're doing it, but we do it to our elders all the time.
I don't know. That's you, cause you tall.
Maybe.
So maybe you just tilt.
Think about it next time.
Maybe you just looking down on the shoulder.
Nah. Think about it. Think about it next time when you shake somebody's hand that is an elder. When you do what you do, you know what I'm saying? You be like, yeah. It's like everything about you kind of shrink a little. Maybe because I am tall.
Yeah, you saw, and everybody that you meet is shorter than you. That's why.
I think it works the same.
I don't be doing the tilt.
This is a
small
tilt. We all do the small. We all do the small.
I'm short.
You ain't that short. You tall too. At least you make us think you are.
Alcohol outside, and that's all it took. Man, we used to be a country, man. We used to be, To British observers, presumably with their noses upturned, this must have been the end of days. To Americans, it was the birth of the frontier identity. This is the moment we traded the salon for the saloon. We stopped trying to be refined and started being authentic. This is where the American voice gets faster, louder, and more utilitarian. Something interesting, though, we should note here, specifically with accents, is that we kind of went backwards. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, wealthy Americans got accent envy again, let's say. This created the mid-Atlantic accent, that weird half-British voice you hear in old movies, or from Franklin D. Roosevelt's a good example of this, that weird, fake accent. Some schools even taught it to make Americans just sound better, more upper class, so to speak. But this ultimately failed. Why? Because the pioneer identity was just too strong already. After World War II, the mid-Atlantic accent died. Trying to sound elite just wasn't cool. It was very un-American. And there's definitely some subtext for that one. So, when did we stop acting British, speaking British? It wasn't a single day. Nothing in history is that fast. Instead, it was a 50-year slow fade from the halls of Parliament to the mud of the Tennessee frontier. Early American history gets skipped over, and it sucks because there's a lot of cool stuff. And I like showing off the weird parts and answering the burning questions. Click here to see why America...
Alright, we're going to stop right there, man. Make sure you guys go and check them out. Well...
I have some thoughts. We are from a state that is older than the United States. Okay, so our grandparents, they spoke a French Creole language, Quarter-Mini. And when they started going to school, they had to learn English. They had to learn this language that their families never learned before, right? So I think the accents that we have today, maybe not so much me anymore, unless I'm mad or really serious about a topic, that we have. It's like a little, little country, Louisiana.
It is a little spicy.
And if you're, where we are now in New Orleans, the city folk versus the country folk. So just the gist of it, right, is that our grandparents had to learn the language from their teachers.
Right.
And they had to take that language back home to their families. And, here we come.
So
that's how we learn this language, right?
Also, just intertwining the languages, hearing each other speak, community build. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking about, when we kids, we naturally sound like who we're around.
Exactly.
Regardless of what you're trying to make it out to be. If you're a dog, you're a puppy, you're going to bark like the other dogs. You know what I'm saying? And I think over time it's just intertwined and we all just start to sound a certain way. But it's important to find your voice, though. Just find your sound, find your voice, because you can't imitate nobody. You just got to. That's why they do have fake accents.
They do.
People be kicking it too hard.
That's so
kicking it way too hard. And then they turn it off. And I'll be like,
it's like be yourself. Please.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
My accent was thicker than this when I met Deanna. But I went through a lot of voice training. So they kind of changed up some words. And I had speech too.
Yeah,
after
you
Katrina.
Yeah.
Because everybody thought in other school districts, they thought that the people from New Orleans just didn't know how to speak correctly. So I was placed in speech. And, that's what my accent and things.
Sexy. I mean, that's fine.
All right, y'all. We hope you guys enjoyed this video with us. Be sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Peace.